Jimmy, I was getting too excited about the conversation before, so before we started rolling the camera. So I'm glad that we're rolling them now. We can move on and get everybody else to hear what we're talking about. So let's start this way. Tell us about how you got into doing what you're doing today.
Yeah, well, it's funny, when I was a kid, my dad did real estate, and I'd always sneak into his office and see his signs and his business cards. So I was interested in real estate. And then when I was like 21, I had a buddy start working at a place that sold real estate coaching. Mm-hmm. And I was going to school, and he told me, he said, hey, you got to listen to these CDs. And it was, Carlton Sheets and Robert Kiyosaki, right, and Robert Allen, these dudes. And I was listening, and I was like, oh, I need to get into real estate. And so I started, real estate school. I actually went and got my degree, my associate's degree. And I didn't know, here's how naive I was, I didn't know you have to apply to a real school to go to like a 4-year degree. Mm-hmm. So I had 6 months with nothing to do, went to real estate school. And long story short, I started doing it in 2005 is when I got in, and the market was just going crazy. And by the end of that year, I'd sold 60 homes, dropped out of school. Wow. Never looked back, kind of thing.
Wow. So that was you in the real estate business transacting?
Yeah, so I started out as an agent. I've been an agent for the last 17 years. Right. And very early on, I had a lot of success. So I was mentored by a lot of the top real estate coaches in the country: Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry, Bill Pipes. These guys were my mentors, just because my first year and a half, I sold almost 200 homes. And so I had all these people coming out of the woodwork to help me and work with me and put me on their stages to sell and all this stuff. And so I had some really amazing mentors. And so, as I got more and more in real estate, a few years went by, went and got my real estate degree, a master's degree from Arizona State in real estate. And decided I really like the coaching aspect, like coaching and training other agents. Mm-hmm. And so wrote a book called, I've written 2 books now, but the last book I just wrote was called You End Up Where You're Heading: The Hidden Dangers of Living a Safe Life. Mm-hmm. All the risks I've taken in life is what's propelled my career to what it is. Mm-hmm. And then my real estate book is called The Next Wave of Influence in Real Estate. Mm-hmm. And what I did is I interviewed 100 of the top millennial real estate agents across the country, similar to like what Tim Ferriss did with Tribe of Mentors, things like that. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to know what they were doing, because success leaves clues. Mm-hmm. And I just wrote this all out in the book. And it was so fascinating. One of the things that fascinated me was most of these agents, top agents in the country, were not investing in their own real estate. One of the questions I would ask is, what are you, describe your own real estate portfolio. Right. And so many of them didn't own anything besides even some of them the house they lived in. And so it really fascinated me. So I really started getting more involved into the investing side. And now a lot of what we do is I help train and coach people on real estate investing. Mm-hmm. And my team, we've helped, sell now over 6,000 houses to investors all over the country, work in multiple states with people from every state. And really, I really enjoy the aspect, because when I was younger, I got into real estate pretty heavy. I bought 13 homes by my 25th birthday. Wow. And in November of 2006, my mentor basically said, you need to sell everything. Thankfully, I got rid of all but 2 of them. Those 2, I got left with a huge debt that I ended up paying off over the next few years. But what I learned so many lessons. And as an agent, you're sitting across from couples that made these bad financial decisions. They bought real estate the wrong way. And I can't tell you how many couples would just be fighting right across the table from me. Divorces taking place right in front of my eyes. Yeah. He bought something she told him not to, and the market tanked. And so I really got passionate about, I wish I had a mentor that could have taught me. Back then, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have podcasts. I was literally finding out how to sell real estate by trial and error, most of it, or by listening to your buddy who doesn't know anything, or your neighbor, or your broker, or whoever it was. And I made a lot of mistakes, pretty much every mistake you can make in investing. And so for me, I'm very passionate about doing it the right way, teaching people how to avoid those pitfalls. And so, yeah, we've set up this entire system, and we're, sell between 8 and 15 homes a week to investors right now. And it's awesome because, every single person, we're doing it the right way. Good market, bad market, doesn't matter. This is how to invest the right way in real estate. So for me, it's personal. It's something that I'm passionate about, something I wish I had when I was younger. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we kind of focus on now.
With this series, we're seeing that we're in sort of scary and uncharted territory relative to just the predicament that I think the whole country and the whole world is in. One of the areas that is, I guess, a category of that predicament is finance and investment.
Yeah.
So in this COVID world, how has that impacted your activities as far as bringing people in for investment? The dollar looks like they're just devaluing it every single day, printing more and more money. You don't want to stay in cash.
Right.
Is real estate a good place to go right now? And if so, what form of real estate investment?
Yeah, and so real estate is one of the best ways, in my opinion, to hedge against inflation. And you can put a lot of money at a time into real estate. That's one of the nice things, right? If I want to go buy silver or gold to hedge, I'm gonna have to own a lot of silver or gold physical if I want to do that. And so for me, real estate is one of the top ways to, go against the inflation that's coming. We know that. They dropped $7 trillion into the market. All these people that are selling their homes at 20-30% premiums to what they were a year ago. There's no other reason other than inflation that's happening. It just doesn't make any sense. There's so much money in the market, people don't know where to put it, so they want to get it into hard assets. For me, with real estate, the tricky part is you want to buy real estate, but so many people are just buying something because they see it going up. They don't know if it's ever going to come back down. And it does remind me a lot of 06, 07, when people didn't care what the price was. They weren't looking at what could possibly happen. And what I always tell people is, the best advice for real estate investing is, if you're still happy you own it, if the market goes down or the market tanks, then you've got a good asset.
Right.
That's the best advice I could give to anybody, because if you have cash flow, if you have an asset that's working for you, that's going to be easy to rent out, that rents will continue to increase, then you've got something that you won't care if the market goes down. You keep collecting your cash flow every single month, you keep paying down your principal, and you're safe. And so the mistake that I think a lot of people are making right now is they're desperate to get into something. They're desperate to put their money into a hard asset. So they're overpaying for a lot of the real estate that's going on, or not even overpaying per se, but just paying a lot more than, if the market does turn, they're going to be stuck with something that's not cash flowing. And we know that there's nothing more depressing than owning a $600,000 house you owe $900,000 on, and and you're paying $2,000 more than you can rent it out for. And that's what happened before, and I'm afraid that we're seeing a lot of those kind of properties being purchased again. So we'll see how it all shakes out.
So what kind of properties are you putting people in right now, and in what locations?
Yeah, so what we did is we basically studied the entire country. We found 92 top markets in the country, and we said which ones have the numbers we're looking for: cash on cash return, cash flow, and future appreciation. We also look at the macroeconomics. Is this a state people are moving to? Is this cities that are supported by other large cities that are going to be recession proof? And so after studying the entire country, we basically picked 3 or 4 markets that were the best. Near Orlando, Florida is one of those. Bentonville, Arkansas, South Carolina, and Memphis, Tennessee are the 4 that we've identified. So those are the 4 areas where we've been putting our clients. What happens is we can still buy homes under $250,000, $225,000, $225,000 that are newer homes, and they're supported by other larger cities, these neighborhoods or these areas that we're buying. And so what happens is, if the market goes up, there's a ton of people that are looking for this home. A lot of first-time buyers want to get in. If the market goes down, you'll get all those people that need to sell their $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 home. They'll be buying these homes. And so they're really recession-proof, because you got both markets, whether it goes up or down, you have a lot of buyers for that type of home.
Right.
And you've got the cash flow. So, and that's the main key that we tell everybody is, if it has the cash flow. Like, if you have cash flow, it doesn't matter, good market, bad market, you're going to be protected against that.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think was a little scary is because I own some homes on the East Coast. I have them rented, and when COVID hit, and then people are dislocated, or they're forced shutdowns, and they're starting to say, well, don't pay your rent, and don't pay your mortgage, and fortunately my renters stayed employed, kept paying their rents. It wasn't an issue, but a lot of people, I think, got shook. Do you feel like that's kind of like shaken out now?
Yeah. Well, one of the biggest factors that we're determining right now is if it's a red or a blue state, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
It would be terrifying me to own a home in Oregon right now, or a rental in California, right? They're talking about everybody needs to be in a house. People don't have to make their payments, their rents. And there's not very good recourse in a lot of those states for getting a bad renter out of your house as well. And so, it seems ridiculous, but, everything that's going on seems ridiculous, what they've been doing. And so nothing's out of the realm of possibility now, but we definitely are factoring in, what are the chances that this state will do some kind of program where people don't have to pay their rent and don't have to make their payment, yet I still am going to have to pay my mortgage. So yeah, it's a factor for sure.
Yeah, so that is, but I think now it seems that we kind of, at least on the employment side, have some more stability, but God only knows, a new strain comes around, they go back to their I think, anti-economic behaviors. And to your point, it's been very politicized. So there are states where, hey, they're not shutting down, they're not masking, they're not separating. In other states where, they basically are in a completely almost communistic mentality.
Yes.
So moving forward now, how is the lending side of this going? So let's say I said, oh geez, hey, I've got 100 grand that's in the market. I think this thing is a bubble. I'm worried about it. It scares me. I want to pull that 100 grand out, and I want to go invest in some single family homes and get a cash flowing asset. So walk me through what that would be. So I come to you and I say, okay, I got this money. I want to buy some homes. How would it work?
Yeah, the nice thing right now is, when everything collapsed before in 07, 08, a lot of people are getting loans that shouldn't have been able to get loans. Like, I sold a house to a kid in high school. I don't know how they pulled it off. I didn't want to know how they pulled it off.
Right.
I mean, anybody could get a loan. They, they just call in and they'd say verify employment over a phone call. Nowadays, I will say, like, for the most part, only people that should be getting loans are. With the clients that we work with, we get a lot of people that exact situation. I got 100 grand, I got 150 grand. What are we doing? So we have everybody that we meet with, we show the program is to put 20-25% down. Already you're hedging against, being upside down on your property, basically, unless a total catastrophe hits. And then at that point, you're not paying your mortgage insurance, you've got the cash flows, and you're really protecting against anything that could happen to make you have to sell that home at the wrong time. So what you don't want to do is sell your house when the market's depressed. You want to be able to weather that storm, get your cash flow, and then when it comes back up. Like last time, if you had a home, a lot of people did this, they had homes that, they bought the home for $250, and then the home fell down to $175, and a lot of people had to sell it, short sell at $175. Well, that home today is worth $450. So if they could have weathered the storm, they would have still made a great investment, even though they bought it at kind of a high at that time. And so what we try to encourage people to do is put that money down, get the loan correctly. And honestly, it's still pretty easy to get a loan if you're supposed to qualify. There's a little bit more paperwork than there used to be, but the people that should be getting loans are the ones that are getting loans. So
what type of return do you expect as far as cash flow? So, because first of all, you got leverage because you're only putting 20 or 25% or less down on the house. And now you've got a mortgage to service, but you got rental income coming in. What's the?
Yeah, we shoot for 6.5% cash on cash return. That's the money you put down versus what's going to be coming back that first year. But ideally on cash flows, like kind of a rule of thumb for us is if we're buying a house at $200,000, we want to have a minimum probably $250 to $300 cash flow. Some people say the 2% rule, the 1% per month. Per month. And so a lot of people, in a lot of areas like in Utah where we live, you can't do that. If you're buying a house, a beginner home right now that would rent for $1,500, you're gonna have to pay $5 something for it. So there's no cash flow there. You would be upside down. So those are not good investment properties right now. So what we've done is we've identified these homes that still have the $200 to $400 a month cash flow around $200,000 purchase price. And for us, if we can get that 2%, $400 on a $200,000 house, that's ideal. But as long as you're above 1% and everything else still works out, we feel like you're in a safety zone there where you should be okay.
Yeah. So basically, there's the cash flow is nice, and at least there is cash flow. Like if you buy gold, just as an example, you mentioned earlier, it doesn't generate interest or cash flow for you. If you're taking possession of physical gold, you're just betting on the fact that it's going to go up in value. In this case, the asset actually is generating money, and the people go to work every day to pay off your loan. Yeah,
I mean, I'll give you a good example. I bought, about $100,000 worth of hard silver, hard gold a couple of months back. At the same time, I put $65,000 down on an investment property. That home is being built today, right now. It's an Airbnb that I'm building in St. George, Utah, 4 hours from my home. And I already have, they just sold one that came available, and it sold for $150,000 above what I was gonna buy it for, right? And so that asset, my $65,000, you can leverage so much more money, and then once it's built, we figure it'll be about a $900 to $1,200 a month income coming in from that property based on the projections. My gold and silver is just sitting there, it's not doing anything. And it's nice to, again, I've definitely wanted to spread out among different asset classes, but real estate, you really get that leverage. I mean, with $50,000, you can buy that $200,000, $250,000 house, and if it goes up 10%, you're not making 10% of your down payment. You're making 10% of the total purchase price. So you really get 5 times as much return as you do with, for example, a stock that's not paying a dividend.
Thanks so much for being here and watching that video. And can I ask you to please subscribe to our channel so you can find out when we're posting new content. You'll be alerted right away when we do. To share this with people you think might benefit from the information, and certainly it helps us if you like the video. So if you like what you just saw, go ahead and hit that like button. And again, thank you so much for being here with me right now.